Hey guys, OG Albani here, bringing you guys another Scarlet and Violet guide video. Today we're going to be talking about how to use Iron Moth, the future Paradox version of Volcarona. If you guys are excited for today's guide video or you do enjoy it, be sure to drop a like on the vid as well as sub to the channel. I'd really appreciate a ton. We're on our way to 2,000 subs and we're getting pretty close, so I'd appreciate if you help me out along that journey. And let me know what you want to see next in the comments below. This is a request in the last video, so again, taking requests if you want to see a specific mod and how to use it. Let me know. Alrighty, with that being said, let's go ahead and first jump on into Iron Moth's stats, which are going to be right here on the screen. Iron Moth is a fire and poison type with the ability Quark Drive, as all other future Paradox, mons have. It has 80 HP, 70 attack, 60 defense, and then it gets bigger and stronger with 140 special attack, 110 SPDF, and 110 speed, being a very, very, very strong physical attacker, or special attacker, special breaker, a solid SPDF wall as well, or at least a SPDF pivot, and it does have access to recovery and things like that, which can be great. This Pokemon is a little bit kind of a carbon copy of regular Volk, but with some small differences that honestly make it pretty darn cool. One, obviously, being that poison typing. Fire poison is a pretty incredible offensive typing in the grand scheme of things. It's also a little bit faster than regular Volk. It has 110 base speed opposed to the 100 that Volk has, and that's also incredible. 100 is a very crowded and occupied speed tier, and things around that are very, very common. So having something that's at 110 fast, and that is great, and being able to tie other 110s, which is another really popular speed tier, is always going to be a bonus. It's also very, very strong on the special attacking side, like we said, with great coverage, which we'll jump into now with his move pool. It has access to Fiery Dance just like regular Volk. It can go ahead and boost its own special attack 50% of the time when clicking Fiery Dance, which is great on a stab move with basic power. It can Dazzling Gleam, which is awesome to hit dragons. It can Discharge, which is incredibly interesting, especially one for water types, which is going to be really nice, but two, if you're pairing this guy with like a Pincurchin or even a Miraidon if you're playing Ubers. But if you're pairing this thing with like a Pincurchin, to boost its highest stat, obviously with Quark Drive, whether that be most likely its special attack. I think you might be able to swing speed or even SPDF as well, but most of the time special attack, being able to boost that up just upon switching, and then also having an electric terrain boosted discharge could be really, really incredible and honestly very solid. It also has Sludge Wave as an act of its poison stab, being able to hit things on the hit things with its poison moves and things like that. It also has access to Overheat, which is an absolute nuke on this thing's 140 base special attack. It keeps Bug Buzz, not the most useful coverage move, but it is something to note. It also has Energy Ball for bulky waters, which can be pretty incredible because it also hits waters as well as bulky grounds, which might want to come in on this thing and threaten it out with an Earthquake, but you can 2-hit KO most of them with an Energy Ball, so, or even Oko some of them. So that's obviously really, really nice, and it really depends on which team you have, like what your team consists of, whether or not you would want Energy Ball or Discharge, which we'll talk about here in a second. And then you also have access to Psychic, which can be niche and nice in some instances. Now, for more utility options, you have a couple cool moves. You have U-Turn to grab momentum, which is always going to be nice. Grabbing it into more offensive teammates that beat the things that check you, and vice versa. Really, really synergizing well. Morning Sun for reliable recovery. It's not Roost, but Roost was nerfed this gen anyways, and has the same PP as the max PP'd Morning Sun, so that's nice. Agility is a great way to boost a special attack, especially alongside a boost from Booster Energy or Fiery Dance, but we will talk about that here in a second. And it also has access to Toxic Spikes to set up the T-Spikes for your team. Again, also whittling down your checks. It's a Pokemon that forces very specific switches, and oftentimes I feel like you can get up an offensive T-Spike and put yourself in a pretty good spot. Now, let's go ahead and jump on into our first set idea here, which is going to be a Booster Energy variant. Obviously, Quark Drive, we're just max speed, max special attack with Timid Nature, Fiery Dance, Agility, Sludge Wave, and then either Energy Ball or Discharge. Now, the idea with this set is you come in, you get an instant +1, and you either break through the opponent's team with Fire Dance, Sludge Wave, and then coverage move, which we'll obviously talk about here in a second, or you can even get up in Agility, outspeed everything, and then start breaking through. The benefit to going Fiery Dance here over something like Flamethrower is because you're losing out on 10 base power, but also whenever you're clicking your Fiery Dance, you're giving yourself that extra opportunity to gain another boost, and then you're at +2/+2, and it's almost like you just threw off 2 Quiver Dances, which can be pretty nasty in a lot of instances, so that's obviously very, very nice. Sludge Wave is pretty self-explanatory, and then the idea of either Energy Ball or Discharge, I think if you're running a team without electric terrain, I think Energy Ball is a little bit better, because again, it catches those bulky grounds that want to switch in on you and force you out, whereas Discharge allows them in for free, so that can obviously be pretty scary. Whereas Discharge, I think, might be better on a team that does have that electric terrain aspect to it. And you get that boost on the Discharge as well as your +1, as well as, or I guess there would be a +2 in the case of Booster Energy plus terrain. I don't actually know how that works, but you probably wouldn't be running Booster Energy on a team that was functioning around electric terrain. You'd probably have Boots or something like that, maybe even a Life Orb or something crazy. So yeah, I think the set could be pretty cool. This is typically what I've been seeing on the ladder a lot of the time. So you might even be able to flex in like a Dazzling Gleam in that last slot as well. Next up, we have a heavy duty boots set. This is actually going to be a sub dual stabs variant. I like this a lot. I used it in a draft league tour recently, which should be up on the channel, to 6-0 my opponent. It did really, really well because, again, this is a Pokemon that forces very specific switches. And if you get behind a sub on something that you know you force out, and then you start throwing off Fiery Dances and getting more boosts and boosts and boosts, and Fire Dance Sludge Wave is a really tough dual stab combination to deal with. You also have the benefit of being heavy duty boots, so you don't have to take rocks and things like that coming in. If you're not afraid of rocks or hazards, I suppose you could also go with like leftovers on this kind of set, or I guess Black Sludge because you're poison. And you go with like Black Sludge, something like that. And that Sludge Wave slot could really be flexed out for anything you might need, whether that be Dazzling Gleam, Energy Ball, Discharge, Bug Buzz, even like freaking Hurricane or something like that. There's a lot of different options there, so it's another thing you can definitely do. And then our third set recommendation is going to be a Choice Specs variant. I think that this set could be devastating on the right type of team. Obviously, Cork Drive, we're Max Timid, all that fun stuff. And then we're Fiery Dance, Sludge Wave, Overheat, and Energy Ball / Discharge. Energy Ball / Discharge, again, it really depends on what you in particular need on your team. So it kind of comes down to what you want to deal with there. You could also flex in a U-turn in one of these slots over something like Overheat, maybe. I like Overheat a lot on a Specs variant. It's an absolute nuke. Overheat coming off of base 140 special attack, it being stab, 120 base power, it's really hard to switch into. So I think that could be great. And then Sludge Wave and Fire Dance are pretty much a given in my opinion. Again, being able to boost your own special attack on top of already being Specs could be pretty incredible. I do think that this is the worst set overall, I want to say. I think maybe the Cork Drive or the Booster Energy set first was probably the best, and then like the subset seems to be the second best from my experience. And then this set could be a little bit niche and could be fun, but on the right team, I think that Specs Iron Moth could be a lot of fun. Now, with using Iron Moth, obviously we have to build a team around it and a team that facilitates it and lets it kind of do well. The first Pokemon that came to mind for me as a good Iron Moth pairing was going to be a Great Tusk. Not only does it really break through the things that Iron Moth doesn't appreciate, and Iron Moth does the same thing for it, breaking through like fairies and things like that. Another thing that Great Tusk does is it provides good rapid spin support, so you're not too pressured into running Boots variants, and you feel more comfortable being like Booster Energy or Specs or whatever it may be. Not having to take that 25% from rocks is pretty darn incredible, and Great Tusk is probably the most reliable spinner in a tier where Goldango is occupying, because we can at least run knockoff for Air Balloon or Goldango, or if they're not, and they're like the Scarf set that's been running around, you can catch them with a Headlong Rush on the switch in. So you're able to get away hazards much easier, which can be really, really nice. I think that this thing is the best hazard remover in the tier right now, so having it on a team with Iron Moth just seems like a given to me. Now, obviously, there's a pretty crippling ground weakness with our good friend Iron Moth here, so my second idea was going to be Rodent Wash. Now, Rodent Wash really, really rips and preys on grounds, but as well as bulky waters, which is great for forcing them out, making them take more hazard chip, putting them in range of Energy Ball Discharge, or just beating them, and as they sack it off to the Rotom, you're like, oh man, my Iron Moth wins the game. You're immune to ground, you can spread Will-O-Wisp, you can even spread Thunder Waves for your Iron Moth, which could be really, really clutch for it when you either sub or like Specs variants to slow down faster things. And again, you can really go to town with your Iron Moth with Rodent Wash kind of supporting the wayside. It lost Defog and Pain Slit, which really does suck for it, but I think it makes up for it in other areas. Now, third up, I ended up going with Palafin Balm. It was a more offensive water option. Again, still grabbing momentum and still really, really bullying offensive grounds that want to come in and take advantage of your your Iron Moth. I'm going to keep saying that so many times throughout this generation. You're really, really able to punish those things and break them down, which is awesome. Also, our Iron Moth is going to break through fat grasses and water resistance in general for our Palafin, which is awesome. And Palafin's going to do the same for it. Now, if you're like a U-turn variant of Iron Moth, this could be great alongside Palafin with Flip Turn, getting Flip Turns around, things like that, like Specs and Band. Palafin and Iron Moth could be really, really cool together, or even having one of them be a Choice Scarf variant could be cool, or even the Bulk Up variant could really, thrive and really benefit from this, which is awesome. Then lastly, I have big old, why is it not clicking? Garchomp here. Now, Garchomp really appreciates our good friend Iron Moth here, breaking through grasses and fairies with ease. Garchomp doesn't necessarily provide like the best immediate support for our good friend Iron Moth. Now, it does what, Great Deaths can do to a little bit less of an extent, but it's still very solid. But what I think is great about this is I think Garchomp is probably one of the best hazard setters in the tier right now, getting access to both Stealth Rock and Spikes now, and I really do feel like Iron Moth appreciates that Spike support immensely, really helping it wear down and break down the opposing team and lead yourself to a victory. So yeah, that's going to be our Iron Moth guide. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you've been running anything different in OU or wherever you've been playing, and let me know what Pokemon you want to see next on our guide series here. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow with another video. Later.